नमस्ते दोस्तों, वेलकम टू NatZex Research and Development. I am Dr. Ravi. Friends, thank you very much for your comments, like and share and subscription of our previous videos. Keep your supports with us. Thank you. Today we will be continuing our discussion on Indian Constitution. Century has changed the world and India entered 20th century. 1985 Indian National Congress came into existence and it had started working as a pressure group against British government and its policies. So and it was also contributing to the development of nationalist sentiments and strengthening the freedom struggle against the British. Britishers thought that initially they will be able to use Congress party as a safety valve against Indian people. So the kind of unrest which was developing amongst Indians, the Congress party would be able to handle it and British should be able to handle Congress party. They realized without dividing Indians, they cannot rule them any longer. In 1907, Congress party got divided on two lines, the radicals and the extremists. Lal Bal Pal trio was leading the extremist group in Congress party. Dada Bhai Nauroji, Feroz Shah Mehta, Gopal Krishna Gokhale like leaders were leading the moderate fraction. So Britishers have tried to hit Indian society and Indian freedom struggle with another law. It was known as India Council Act of 1909. This act is also known as Morley Minto Reform. Here they have introduced direct election to the Legislative Council and it was a kind of first attempt to introduce representation and at popular level. It has changed the name of Central Legislative Council to Imperial Legislative Council. This act has also increased the number of members in Legislative Council from 16 to 60. It has introduced a system of communal award, communal representation to the Muslims. It was a separate electorate for the Muslim voters in India. So again it was opposed, though it was supported by fractions in Muslim leagues, but ordinary Muslim population did not like it. They went with Congress under the leadership of Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. Indians for the first time became the member of Viceroy's Executive Council. SP Sinha, Satyendra Prasanna Sinha was the first law member in the Executive Council of the Viceroy. So now another important act which has contributed to the growth of law in India, Constitution in India, is known as Government of India Act 1919. It is also known as Montagu-Chelmsford Reform. The subjects of central government as well as state government, provincial government were separated by now through this amendment, and they have very cleverly introduced the concept of diarchy. So diarchy was introduced in the provincial subjects. Let me explain you what is diarchy. Under the diarchy system, the provincial subjects were divided into two categories: transferred and reserved power. So on reserved subjects, governor was not responsible to the Legislative Council. So it was a kind of veto given to the governor. And in transferred subject, the Legislative Council was given power to make the law. And this act has also introduced the concept of bicameralism. Bicameralism means today's Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and Vidhan Sabha, Vidhan Parishad that we see in many states even now. That is bicameralism, two chambers in the parliament. The act has introduced Legislative Assembly with 140 members and Legislative Council with 60 members in each provinces. So now representation of Indians was increasing radically. There were 6 members in Viceregal Council and out of 6, 3 has to be Indian. It was made compulsory that 3 people should be Indians except Commander-in-Chief, the army of British, the leader of British Army. So now they knew that if they induct Indians as the leader of British Army, So they may again face 1857 like situation. Therefore they were very cautious not to give army in the hands of Indians, and it had provided for the establishment of a public service commission. We know that after 1919 Britishers have started allowing Indians also to compete in the civil services both in India as well as in England. Now this was 1919 Act. This was again partially welcomed, partially opposed. Mahatma Gandhi had launched non-cooperation movement against British government. Rest of the story you are aware of. Then Nehru Commission was appointed, and Motilal Nehru Commission had submitted a recommendation. In that recommendation they have demanded a lot of rights to the Indians. When Simon visited Punjab, Lala Lajpat Rai was opposing, and police had lathi charged, and Lalaji was martyred in that lathi charge. He succumbed to the injuries which he had received during lathi charge. Great freedom fighter Bhagat Singh was present in that particular protest, and he had seen how brutally Lalaji was hit by the British police. As the unrest was increasing, freedom movement was strengthening, and British were finding it very difficult to survive in the country. So on the one hand they have started fueling Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Muslim League to put pressure on Congress party and demand for a separate Pakistan, and on the other hand they were trying to bring in legal reforms so that they can douse down, they can control the unrest amongst Indians. So in this line, Government of India Act 1935 was introduced. More than 60% of our present constitution reflects the provisions which were provided in the Government of India Act 1935. Now what were the main provisions of this act? First of all, it has provided for establishment of an all India federation consisting of all the provinces, princely states as the units, and a formal federation kind of thing came into existence in India. This act has also divided the legislative power between the provinces and the state in three lists, which was known as the act divided the power between center and its unit into terms of federal list, provincial list, and concurrent list. The federal list for the center, as we have today also, consisted of 59 items, and the provincial list for the provinces, that is state, consisted of 54 items, and concurrent list had 36 items into it. By this we mean the area in which particular government could make the law, particular elected house could make the law. The act has abolished diarchy, and the residuary power was vested with the Governor General. Residuary power means a power which is not mentioned in either of the three lists, center, provincial, or concurrent list, and if any such case arise which is not covered in these lists, the governor would be empowered to make the law in that particular list. Now it has introduced bicameralism in 6 out of 11 provinces. In 1935 there were 11 provinces, 11 states. Out of 11, in 6 British have introduced bicameralism, that is second house, the upper house and lower house. These 6 provinces were Assam, Bengal, Bombay, Bihar, Madras, and United Province, today's Uttar Pradesh. It had also provided for the formal establishment of a federal court. You know, Supreme Court was established in Kolkata in 1774 itself, but its nature and its scope was not all India nature and scope. It was merely confined to adjudicating the disputes between East India Company and different traders within the East India Company, within British administration, so on and so forth. But now this federal court was given a mandate to look into the matters of entire country and adjudicate. Now this has abolished the Council of India. Through this act, Council of India was abolished. So friends, this was Government of India Act 1935, which was very important from the point of view of Constitution of India. Now we have seen that freedom movement was strengthening, Second World War had begun, and Indian National Congress has launched Quit India movement under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. Lot of leaders were put in jail, and though Indians were promised that if they support British in Second World War, they will be given freedom, but British did not keep their word. Therefore, Mahatma Gandhi went against it and started Quit India movement, Karo ya Maro. And due to this pressure and the pressure they got after the World War II and the promises which Labour Party had made to the Indian leaders before election, situation changed after 1945. We know that Winston Churchill, the war hero of British government, his party lost the election, and Clement Attlee became the Prime Minister of England. He was the Labour Party representative, and they have sanctioned a cabinet mission plan which was mandated to look into the possibilities and process and method of giving independence to India and withdrawing British control from that. And subsequently, after recommendations of this cabinet mission plan, Indian Independence Act 1940 was passed. This Independent Act declared India as an independent and sovereign state. It enabled a responsible government at center as well as at state level. It had designated the Viceroy, India and provincial governors as constitutional head, and it has assigned dual function to the Constituent and Legislative Assembly, to the Constituent Assembly as a sovereign body. So Constituent Assembly was appointed as a sovereign parliament for the India to look into the legislative matter as well as making of the constitution till the further arrangements are made. So friends, this is the evolution of Constitution of India pre-independence. This was the British contribution. Let me tell you before I wind up that though British made these laws, but they did not have any intention to give any constitution or any law to India. But whatever laws and rules they made, it was made from a point of view of running the British administration smoothly, controlling the Indians, oppressing and suppressing the Indians, and serving the financial and political interest of British Crown in the India. Hereafter, we will be continuing the role of Constituent Assembly and making of Indian Constitution. Thank you very much for your watching, and please like, share and subscribe our video. Keep on supporting us so that we can make more and more such videos. Our aim is to spread intellectual information and knowledge to each and every person. Thank you very much. Namaste.